Let's keep the baseball talk going. Jeff, let's welcome back to the show Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs catcher Garrett Stubbs. Garrett, so good to get you back, man.
Yeah, good to be back. Thank you guys.
We love to talk to guys when they're in the minors and get their best minor league story because it leads to amazing things. And then the other day, I opened your Instagram and saw that you were sitting on a bus for 6 hours in 96-degree heat. Uh, Talk to us about travel problems the other day, and how that's kind of emblematic of what these guys in the minors go through to try and achieve those dreams.
Yeah, it's kind of part of the gig, right? I think in that same post, I said, if you don't like it, play better. That's kind of the saying that you go through in the minor leagues when you're complaining about whether it be food or bus rides or whatever the problem might be that day on the minor league grind per se. Yeah, the other day we're hottest day of the year, of course, and we're driving from Lehigh Valley over here to Buffalo, and the AC was just not pumping the way it should be. And so we were all down into we were shirtless. Some of us were down to our chonies, sitting there in our underwear, just trying to grab some air. But yeah, that's kind of part of the minor league life. And I've done it for many years prior to this one. Obviously the last few years been in the big leagues, which has been amazing. But we're back here again, trying to grind our way back. So that's part of the go with minor league lifestyle.
You're a little older and more experienced than a lot of the guys that you're playing with. So you were there years ago. It's changed dramatically since. So even though you're talking about the idea of this is kind of the rite of passage isn't what the rite of passage used to be.
Not at all. Yeah, the 96-degree bus ride was only a small piece of some of the problems that used to happen 4 or 5 years ago. So the minor league lifestyle has definitely gotten better. One of the biggest things, and teach their own on the schedule, but the 6 days and then one day off schedule is so much better for travel. You end up traveling on that off day a lot of times or directly after the game and being able to have the next day off. But 4 or 5 years ago, we would be getting on flights from Fresno at 6 a.m., which meant you had a 3 a.m. bus, of which you ended your game the night before at, say, 11 p.m. So you're getting 4 hours of sleep flying from Fresno to El Paso and playing that night at 6 p.m. And that was back when there was no pitch clock either. So those games sometimes were 3.5, 4 hours, just a little bit different. But, it's a lot better now, but I don't also, you mentioned the old guy piece. Don't want to be that old guy who was like, oh, back when I played.
So I was literally just going to ask you,
Yeah.
have you uttered the following phrase, back in my day, and then
I
filled in the rest?
I stay away from that. I don't want to age myself too much. I don't consider myself old. There's still a lot of miles in this body. And I think in baseball world too, you get like that, you have a 3 in front of the age number, and for whatever reason, now you're old. But that, yeah, I don't feel old, and I try to stay away from the back in my day or back in this blah blah blah. Yeah,
It,
I try not to go there.
it really is that attitude that kind of gives you the edge and the success you've had. You're somebody who talks about being where your feet are. How has that approach helped you in the transition to, as you call it, to Piggyland?
Yeah, it's been good. And look, when I say, be where your feet are and kind of take whatever it is in the situation that you are and make the most of it, right? So I say that, and at the same time, it's not 100% of the time. And I think that people set a high expectation for themselves when they get into maybe a little bit of an adverse moment, right? For me, getting sent down to the minor leagues is my adverse moment. And I say that out loud, right? And people might think that I have 100% of the time have this positive outlook on the situation and everything like that. It's not 100% of the time, but the thing is I put the effort in to try to make it 100% of the time. At the end of the day, I don't want to be in the minor leagues. My teammates don't want to be in the minor leagues. And when you're in the big leagues, there's different situations or adverse moments where you may want the situation or outcome to be different. So it's not 100% type of thing of being where your feet are. But the thing is having that mindset of just, this is where I'm at. I'm going to make the most of it. And even if I have those days where I'm maybe not feeling my best, or I have a bus ride that's 95 degrees the whole time and I'm rethinking my entire life because I'm sweating nuts off, for lack of a better term, on this 6-hour bus ride. It's having those moments and then coming back in the next day. And while you're thinking about, gosh, what am I doing? To come back to that be where your feet are type of mentality, and then go on with your day and your week and your month and just make the best of it.
As Phillies fans, we certainly want you back in Philadelphia, but there's a part of us that is also feeling blessed that you're still part of the organization in whatever capacity, because not you come across as a guy who looks like he's having fun, but we also know that the catcher in you is a very serious person. And right now, being where you are in Lehigh Valley, you're around some of the future, the very near future, and in the now the immediate present with Painter
Yeah.
and the pitchers that you are working with on a daily basis. How important is it to you for you to impart that knowledge on these young pitchers?
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. I would love to be in Philly as well, but like we just said, the be where your feet are piece, and being able to take the opportunity to try to develop some of these younger guys who, like Mick Abel, people have had high expectations for, and try to help them in whatever way I can to make sure that they are prepared for the big leagues. And it's been so much fun watching Mick go up there and have some early success. And there'll be bumps in the road for him, but watching him over the last few months, he'll be ready for those moments to be able to turn it around whenever they come. It comes in everybody's career. So it's been fun watching him and his success. And I hope and plan to watch him do that for a long time. And then you just mentioned Andrew Painter, getting to work with him on a daily basis and try to fine tune not only the stuff, which is obviously electric, everybody can see that on the computer, but to be able to talk to him and have that back and forth as a baseball player, and kind of get that mentality of what's next and how do I get to that next level? What's it going to look like? Because it will come for someone like him. It's kind of a weird position to be in. Definitely wasn't the position I was in, knowing that at some point I will be up in the big leagues. But it's a different dynamic for him. And so being able to understand that and handle that kind of pressure, which is an awesome privilege to have, and knowing what that next step is going to look like when he gets to the big leagues, and trying to be there for him as a resource, whether it's about baseball specifically, about life, or whether it be in the locker room, right? You mentioned the fun piece. Well, the fun piece doesn't happen if you don't win. And so having that gritty kind of grinder mentality when you're out there on the field, and getting through those innings that don't go necessarily your way, and those weeks that don't go your way, and coming back and performing that next outing or the next inning or that next pitch. Those are the kinds of things that we get to talk about here at this level, with a little bit less pressure, so that you're ready to be able to take advantage of those moments when you get to the big leagues.
You could see the smile on your face when you talked about Mick Abel going to the major leagues. Do you get the opportunity to do you have time to sit there and watch film and talk to him still about, things that maybe you see?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I watch almost every Phillies game. Obviously not live. I'm playing in our own games here in Piggyland, but I go back and looked at every single box score with the Phillies and see how the boys are doing. Guys like Mick, and also not Mick. I love watching Wheels. Obviously, it's always fun to watch him pitch. But going back and watching Mick pitch and seeing how he's been doing up there and how he's been throwing to guys. Yeah, I look at that stuff all the time. It's fun for me to be able to go back and know where we came from, the two of us down here. And obviously he spent maybe a little more time than people expected, but everyone goes at their own pace, and he's now getting an opportunity to go up there, and he's taking advantage of it. So yeah, I keep tabs every single night that those guys are playing.
Sort of an extension of that. You said something that I found eye-opening. There's only one guy that's facing the opposite direction of everybody else on the field when you're out there, and it's the catcher.
Yeah.
Talk about how important it is for that catcher, your own role, to be the extension of the coaching staff on the field, and that conduit between the game plan and the execution on the field with the players.
Yeah, I think JT is a perfect example of that, right? I mean, both of us have very different personalities, but the thing is that when we're both on the field, that mentality of that leadership role that you have as a catcher, and the fact that you are facing the other direction. I'm sure JT has also, from a very young age, been told, like, when you're the catcher, you're the manager on the field, like you just said. And so we take that job very seriously. And it doesn't start at 7 o'clock when the game starts. It starts hours prior to that, when we're starting to do game reports, when we're going over how we're going to attack the team with our pitching staff, whether it's the starter that day or the pitching coach talking about different things that our bullpen are working on. So those types of conversations don't just happen at 7 o'clock when the lights turn on and the first pitch happens. It's hours before that. And that preparation is something that I love. I know JT loves. We liked working together on that on a daily basis. So those types of things, as far as the extension of the coaching staff, are something that you have to embrace if you're the catcher, and you got to be passionate about it. And if you're not, I can't imagine getting the same kind of result that we've gotten over the last few years if you don't have that passion for that game plan part of it and that kind of manager leadership role that you have as a catcher.
As a catcher, the physical part of it is so grueling, but it seems to me that the mental part is grueling for the majority of other players on the field. You get time to at least relax in your head. As a catcher, you have to be in it all the time. Is that what makes catchers? It seems like catchers are better, or they're more prolific as managers. Is it because you're always in the game from a young age?
Yeah, I think that's a huge piece, right? If we strike out with the bases loaded in a tie baseball game or down or whatever, you cannot go out and catch that next inning thinking about that at bat. You got to flush it, and sometimes it's tougher than other times. Sometimes you might need to yell an F-bomb when you walk in the dugout, just kind of release it a little bit. But as soon as you walk up those stairs and are back onto the field, you better forget about it, because that pitcher needs your full attention and so does your team, to make sure that you're engaged in the game and understanding and remembering and fully focused on that game plan that you had to get out whatever hitter is coming up that next inning, to make sure that that game stays tied for that next guy to get that opportunity with the bases loaded to be able to drive those runs in. So I think that mentality and understanding the fact that when you're out there on the field, you hold a lot of weight on why you do or don't win that baseball game that day is a huge piece to why, I think the managing role ends up being catchers, because of the emotional part of having to flush those next innings and being that kind of rock solid piece emotionally for the rest of the team, and that pitching staff knowing you're not going to bring that at bat out to that next inning, and that they know that you're fully focused on getting those hitters out for them and for the rest of the squad.
We started talking about some of the things that are different than 5 years ago. You mentioned the pitch clock, making the games a bit shorter. ABS full time down there in the minors. Your thoughts, as it looks like it's going to come up to MLB soon enough, your thoughts on how it is to work with that system as a player and as a catcher?
Yeah, it's definitely coming. It's going to be in the big leagues, probably, I would say, within the next 2 years for sure. And I think it's been solid. It's definitely, in my opinion, made sure that the umpires are, just like I was talking about, fully focused on every single pitch and not giving any pitches away. Because at the end of the day, if a hitter or the catcher or the pitcher feel opposite of whatever call was made, they do have that opportunity to try to reverse it. And I've been back there and thought pitches were called balls that are strikes, and I challenge, and it's actually a ball. So it does hold the player accountable as well too, because you don't end up turning around and bitching about some call, because you can challenge. Now the response from some umpires of, oh well, challenge it, not exactly the best response, because at the end of the day, I look at them, I'm like, the point isn't that I can challenge. You should be also very aware and focused on the job that you have at hand. So those kinds of conversations end up being very different than the ones that are had now without the challenge system in the big leagues. But I think that it holds everybody accountable, because there's plenty of times too where I might think a pitch is a strike as a catcher, or I might think a pitch is a ball as a hitter, and I don't challenge because it is a really close pitch and it's not worth the challenge. Most of the challenges happen either in really big moments when guys feel like, dang, that was pretty close. And if this at bat goes from 2-2 versus 3-1, it's a big moment, so they end up challenging. But there's also a lot of moments where they're really close pitches that guys don't challenge, and the pitch is called incorrectly, but the game just keeps moving on. So I think it's a really good system. I think that they've fine-tuned the actual strike zone pretty well. The top of the strike zone is definitely a little shorter than what's being called in the big leagues right now, which either needs to change or it's just a new strike zone to be seen. I guess they'll have to make a choice on that, but I think it's a really good system.
Can we just talk about Lehigh Valley for a second?
Yeah.
So you are surrounded now by probably the most brilliant media and advertising group of people in sports, in my mind. They come every week. It's a different thing that they've come up with. At one point, I believe they called you the chief piggy officer.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or is it amusing to you that the chief piggy officer was also on Team Israel?
Yeah. what an oxymoron right there. Those two do not coincide together whatsoever. But maybe, yeah, it's pretty funny that they went from Team Israel, chief piggy officer. Might have to combine the two as the mistake, the black sheep on Team Israel.
All right, I dropped my kids off wearing my Bacon USA T-shirt from when we went up there for the game with Zach Eflin on the back.
Okay. We can let it slide.
Yeah,
they do a great job with the social media. Owen, they just hired this year to do the social media stuff, and he's done a great job. He has fun with it.
So we want to know, when are you guys going to become the Lehigh Valley Iron Pins? Because we hear about the bowling league and everything you got going on. So talk to us about the bowling effort out there, why it matters, and then how we can lobby to have jerseys so that you have uniforms to wear in the league.
Yeah, we need those. McGillen's, one of the best bars in Philly, reached out about making some of those Iron Pins bowling jerseys. So
nice.
Hoping to get those started here real soon so that when we go out bowling, we all have our own jerseys to wear for the Iron Pins. It's been a really fun thing for our team. Everyone's got to have some sort of team camaraderie piece outside of the field in order to win, which we've done a lot of winning this year down in Piggyland, which has been a lot of fun. So yeah, the Iron Pins have come in full force. We actually just went bowling this last week on Sunday after our day game. We got some pretty good bowlers. Some of the clubhouse guys came out bowling. Caleb came out bowling with us and was nasty. So might need to have him be our ringer on the team. We do start a full Iron Pins bowling league.
We know how much fun, at least from the outside, it looks like you have and the team has. How much fun in Philadelphia when you were part of that team, and we still consider you part of that team. Tell everyone how important it is, though, because it's not just about fun. It's about teamwork. It's about finding ways to connect with each other because you're around each other all day, every day.
Yeah, look, 162 games. And I know people don't want to hear this because at the end of the day, we get to play baseball for a living, but 162 games over those, that 6 month span. And then you include spring training in February and March. It's a long season, right? And you don't get to choose your teammates. At the end of the day, you go in there and you have whatever team you get put in that locker room from the front office. We've been really, really fortunate to have a lot of really good people in that locker room. And I feel like that's a huge piece of our success. You got to have talent, no doubt about that. If you don't have talent, tough time to win. But you have that talent. And then the second piece in order to keep that winning going is that team camaraderie. If you go and look at any World Series team over the course of, honestly, the entire existence of baseball, the first thing you hear from everybody in their post-game interview after winning the World Series is talking about how much they love the team that they played on, how much they love the guys in the locker room, how much fun they had. And don't get me wrong, the winning piece comes first, right? But that team camaraderie piece and finding what clicks within your team and how to get everyone to push in one direction is how you win baseball games. And so having that fun, kind of lighthearted mentality while also having that gritty, grindy, I'm going out there hard-nosed onto the field piece and combining the two of those is how you win baseball games. And I think us with the Phillies have done a really good job of intertwining that team camaraderie, fun piece, and lightheartedness of being able to get through that 162 season. And then that talent, hard-nosed, gritty piece of being out on the field and that FU mentality of we're going to win, like, no matter who we're playing against that day. So We've done a really good job over the past 3 years, and obviously they have the third best record in baseball now. And so it's just continued on from 22 into the 25 season. So it's been fun.
Less serious question. What's the walk-up music now?
I keep it with Frank Sinatra. I think it's kind of been a staple for me, that 2020 season, and going through what everyone went through that year of just life being flipped, turned upside down, has been kind of a strong piece for me. And so I really like the That's Life walkout song. Also, Hoboken guy, Jersey guy. Not sure if Frank Sinatra was necessarily a Phillies fan, but we can consider him at least a little bit of a Jersey Phillies fan guy.
Close enough.
I know New York fans claim him, but he's a Northeast grinder, so
They'll have to deal.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
life is continues to treat you well. You're about to be a father, baby girl. You're out there with your wife and your dogs right now. No matter where you are, we can't wait to keep rooting for you. So we wish you continued success, and always appreciate you giving us some time to break it all down.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and hope to see you guys back in Philly soon.